My feet so fat I can't get into my roller skates. And my neck and chest don't fit anymore. Look at this. It's a stick up. It don't work. I do this at a bank robbery, I look like a fool.
All right, the running man. I power walked down to that pile of gummy bears and back. What's up, everybody? How are you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of the Power Up Podcast. It's a show that takes a look at what's happening in pop culture, and we look over what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, and sometimes the spiritual warfare that are taking place, or what a lot of stories in pop culture are actually based on. That's my twist that I try to provide. Is that the origins of a lot of where these concepts came from that you might come across in like anime, video games, and all that stuff. But on a scriptural foundation, might I add. But yeah, how you guys doing today? It is Tuesday. I'm doing all right. I'm doing okay. Just trying to get through the day. All that fun stuff. We are live on the Big Five, by the way, YouTube, Rumble, X, Kick, and Twitch. So you can follow me on whichever platform you enjoy. If this is your forte, I also do game streaming, specifically a lot of retro games on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and then over the weekends. Right now we're playing Hunted the Demon's Forge, and we're playing Tomb Raider Chronicles. So already getting salty with the Tomb Raider Chronicles, but we shall persevere. If you enjoy that sort of content, make sure to hit that like and subscribe and turn on notifications to get notified when I go live. I would like to make a community to where we can see a lot more retro love taking place right now. I feel with any of the platforms that I'm on that we're not seeing a lot of love for the retro in terms of like on feature pages and whatnot. So I think it'd be cool to build a community where we can always see that in some way, shape, and form, feature it up on like Rumble, Twitch, YouTube, all that stuff. Doesn't even have to be me, but it'd be a fun community because my goal as well is to hopefully at some point in any of these talk, it makes you feel nostalgic, makes you think about back in the days when, you know, people weren't insane or anything like that. And yeah, help us get out of that funk. But hope everyone is doing well. So we got some articles pulled up here for you as well. One of the main ones being pushback against MasterCard, payment processors, all that. So we'll take a look at that. And I found some articles talking about Bioshock, Bioshock 1 being canceled, maybe some info on Bioshock 4. And we've got some other articles as well, so we can hop on into it. And then I've got some uplifting stuff that, in terms of like, you know, new video game news and stuff like that. So let's hop into it, shall we? Well, bam. All right, so starting off, let's slap on the old tag of Video Game Chronicle there. Wabam, there you go. So Nintendo survey, they seeks feedback on controversial game key cards, both physical and digital purchases. It's gauging players' opinion on Switch 2 game purchasing options, which is hilarious. I think they know. They 100% know what they're doing. So I feel like this is... Part of me feels like this is smoke and mirrors. But I hope this survey exploded to let them know that they're a bunch of scumbags. But let's find out what's up. Nintendo's released a new survey designed to identify player preferences around different Switch 2 game purchasing options. The survey asks whether players prefer buying games physically or digitally, and seeks feedback on Switch 2's controversial game key cards, which have proved unpopular with some consumers. Not just... This is a disingenuous statement, I think. A lot of consumers are not happy about that. And of course, in my opinion, everyone should be slapping on that. Yeah, we want physical, because this would be really nice. It would showcase, it would be some nice solid data if they actually show the results to be used to showcase that people want physical. They want not the idea. They want how it was back in the day, where once you buy something, it is yours. And whether that's a physical copy or a digital copy, it is yours. And this nonsense of trying to convince folk that, oh, digital doesn't mean you really own it. Bullshit. Bullshit. You 100% own it. And if, Nintendo being Nintendo, not liking about it, can go piss off. Just because they're afraid of, they're butthurt about piracy and all that stuff. Which is funny, speaking of piracy, just because tied in with the payment processors and their battle of cracking down on the supposed, censorship of a bunch of stuff. In one of the articles, it's now going to be targeting video games. They're just pushing more and more people to pirate, to where, as opposed to just making money, whether the content is something you don't like or you do like, to where you just make zero money or lose money because people decide to sail the seven seas. I think it's hilarious. It's probably the best advertisement for piracy you could ever asked for. But they're backpedaling on that. But we'll get to that. So the only difference between a game key card title and a digital download is that the former can be resold and will work on an other Switch 2 system without the need for virtual game card lending. The game key card title and a digital download is that the former, the digital download, can be resold. That doesn't make... I guess the former means the game key card. Can apparently be resold and will work on other Switch's 2 systems without the need for virtual game card lending. So far, the majority of the third-party Switch 2 games are game key cards, and a lot of third-party Switch 2 games are actually doing very terribly, by the way, with only a few exceptions, reportedly because only one size of card is available to developers, 64 gigabytes. As spotted on Reddit, Nintendo survey asked respondents how many Switch titles they bought in the past year for themselves or for others as gifts. Participants are then asked how many Switch games they have resold after playing. The survey goes on to ask whether players prefer purchasing games in physical format or digitally, and what the main reasons are for their preference. Then lists the various ways players can purchase Switch 2 games, including the game key card system, which is described but not named as such. And then for each method of purchasing Switch 2 games, players are asked how likely they would be to use it, from definitely to not definitely. There's a screenshot here. When I saw this pop up in the link of the survey, it was already done or gone or whatever, so I couldn't put in any of my feedback on it. Game preservationists have come out against the game key card system, calling it disheartening. Stephen Kick, CEO of Night Dive Studios, which specializes in modern remasters of old, often out-of-print games, told GameIndustry.biz that, quote, seeing Nintendo do this is a little disheartening, adding, you would hope that a company that big, that has such a storied history, would take preservations a little bit more seriously. They don't. They don't, because we see how they are when they crack down on people pirating stuff. We see how they are when they feel that they're, people hacking the Switch 2 and stuff, or soft modding it. They don't like that, because then they go, you're only doing it because you're going to pirate stuff. You got that. And then they have the audacity to raise the price of the Switch. Stupid. Far Cry 4, Assassin's Creed 3, Revenge of the Savage Planet director Alex Hutchinson has also strongly criticized the game keycard system. So a rather short article, but we'll see here. I am definitely interested to see, and hopefully we'll see the results to this right here. It would be really nice to get that, because that could be utilized in terms of showcasing to people, what people think about it in terms of video game preservations and the whole argument of physical and digital copies. Oh, Ubisoft. Don't you just love Ubisoft? And how, we were so right about everything. Well, as if things can't get worse. Ubisoft stock is down by almost 90% in 5 years. This comes from Tech for Gamers here. Ubisoft, which used to be a favorite gaming company of many fans, is now the most despised one in the industry. There are many reasons why it's just a shadow of its former self now, with the main one being not listening to its fandom's feedback and demands. We previously reported that the company's stock was down by 80% in 5 years, which is absurd. However, it is now down to almost 90%, to which all I would do is just laugh at it and, tell Ubisoft that everything is deserved because you just pissed off so many people. All you had to do was just make a good game, make females look hot, and, a lot of people would probably just buy it. But no, you continue not to. So, ridiculous. So it almost being 90% down is a marketing and potential new all-time low for the company, surpassing the realm of absurdity. I would say deservedity. I don't know if that's a word, but it was a play on of deserved because they absolutely deserve everything that they are getting. A company that has lost its way won't ever recover unless it accepts the main problem. Ubisoft may be able to recover if it listens to the fandom's demands. I doubt it. At this point, I doubt it, and I've said this before. I was pro Ubisoft crashing and burning. It needs to happen because screw them. Because at some point you knew that a company was going to get put into this position, and Ubisoft apparently was so happy of taking up that mantle. They tried fighting against it so much. Star Wars Outlaws, Assassin's Creed Shadows, all this stuff. They just refused to listen, and now look what's happening. Everything is crashing and burning. And as far as I'm concerned, it needs to go under completely. And hopefully that would be a big enough ripple to other companies to stop catering to a bunch of weirdos. And we're kind of seeing that with the supposed removal of DEI, but you could make the argument that it's just being repackaged in some way, shape, and form and all that. So there you go. There's your image right here. 87.30% down past 5 years. Oof, not looking good. That is because it has failed to launch a game that manages to excite its fandom. Skull and Bones, Assassin's Creed Shadows, and Star Wars Outlaw. All 3 games failed. That's funny that they included Assassin's Creed Shadows, because I remember reading some articles for Tech for Gamers where they were kind of talking about how Assassin's Creed Shadows was good. But apparently, now they're switching tune. I think. I don't know. Could be wrong. It's been a while. So this is the main reason why the company's stock has plummeted. There are even reports revealing that the Skull and Bones, which claimed to be a AAA game by Ubisoft, cost around $850 million to develop. We also reported last year that the company's financial position isn't strong, which may cause a bankruptcy this year. Oh, dude, can you imagine Ubisoft just bankrupting this year? Oh, it would be icing on the cake. It would be absolutely delicious. And I would have no remorse for anybody whatsoever at this point. Because all of it could have been avoided. Because again, they could have avoided everything, but they chose not to. So we also reported last year that the company's financial position isn't strong, which may cause a bankruptcy this year. However, Ubisoft made a deal with Tencent, which saved it. Ubisoft's CEO's son is at the helm of the new subsidiary, which has sparked concerns of nepotism, further indulging the company in controversy. So despite continuous controversies, the company keeps upsetting the fans by stating that microtransactions makes the gaming experience fun. That is 100% retarded, despite the majority disagreeing. The company has also asked the gamers to destroy all copies of the games once it goes offline. And no one's going to be doing that either, because fuck you, that's why. This makes no sense. Destroy all your physical copies that you bought and you own Oh my gosh, that is so dumb. Apparently, this is a recent article. How did I miss Ubisoft wants gamers to destroy all copies once it goes offline? All right, let's see. Apparently, this was released today. Let's see what this one has. Okay, hit rock bottom. Uh, Company's value of over the past 5 years has decreased. So, despite such controversy, Ubisoft has done something to anger the fans again. The company has updated its EULA, which now states that those who own the product must destroy all the copies at all cost. Why it matters. The company has fallen so low that it wants to avoid any legal consequences by terminating users' access to products, which it aims to do sooner for many legacy titles. So you and Ubisoft or its licensors may terminate this EULA at any time for any reason. This EULA will terminate automatically if you fail to comply with any of the terms and conditions. Upon termination for any reasons, you must immediately uninstall the product and destroy all copies of the product in your possession. Please note that the EULA also states that Ubisoft or the licensors for the product can terminate it at any time for any reason, which seems unreasonable given the company's current financial situation, potentially leading to future support issues for some games. And here's another part of, I guess, this thing right here. Ubisoft may modify product for any reason without any... Excuse me. Ubisoft may modify the product for any reason or without any specific reason at any time at its entire discretion, in particular for technical reasons such as updates. I yawned because I was like 100% not giving a shit about their stupid, this stupid, what would you call this? Statement or whatever. Patty Quinn, what's up, dude? I don't with the dancing Michelangelo. I wish that would be bigger, which is probably why I need to start using Ninja Social Stream or whatever it's called. Additionally, you're responsible for periodically checking the EULA for changes, as it is now the customer or the consumer's responsibility to detect any unreasonable changes made by the company without notice. Wow, how did they get away with any of this? If for any reason you don't want to comply with the EULA, you would, of course, have to destroy all copies of the product you own, which I'm sure no one is going to do. That is retardo. That is absolutely amazing and stupid. Patty Quinn says, I'm doing good. How are you? I am doing all right. Doing all right. Had to replace my car battery today. That was always fun. Other than that, doing good. Doing good. Well, all I can say to Ubisoft about all this, actually, I'm not going to say anything. I will let my boy Pigeon say.
Go yourself.
Well said. Well said. So, saw this over here. What the heck? Close that. This comes from Fandom Pulse. Now, I like me a good Punisher. So, saw this, spiked my interest, and I did see the image of what the Punisher looks like. Not looking too hot, will say that, but anyway, let's check this out here real quick. Rumor, Punisher to be a murderous psycho in Spider-Man Brand New Day. So a new rumor alleges that Frank Castle, aka the Punisher, will be a murderous psycho in the next Spider-Man film, Spider-Man Brand New Day. Marvel Updates reports that scooper Daniel RPK claims that, quote, the Punisher will reportedly still be a murderous psycho in the Brand New Day. Dude, how many... This is literally the same line. Why are you guys... This is just padding right here, but it's so annoying. He will be equipped with tools to handle bigger threats, including a tank and advanced tech, the reports add. Nice. Get that out of my face. Frank Castle is certainly not a murderous psycho. Does he murder people? Yes. He takes out criminals, gangster, pimps, and drug dealers, and other sorts of criminal lowlives. These murders are indeed immoral. Well, you could say he could just be killing them, but whatever. But yeah, this is, and I think this has been a discussion. Maybe I know in the Netflix series when he was like on trial, they kind of he didn't know the difference between right and wrong. But I know they always like. I think some of the comics tried to spin it to where, he is a murder psycho. But and then you have other people like explaining, no, not really, sort of thing. However, he's not psychotic. His violence is calculated and he has a mission. This is showcased in season 2 of Daredevil, where he tells Daredevil, I think you're a half measure. I think you're a man who can't finish the job. I think that you're a coward. He would later tell Daredevil, I'm not a bad guy, Red. Is that what you think? I'm just some crazy asshole going around unloading on whoever I want to? That's it? I think the people I kill need killing. Nobody got hurt who didn't deserve it. He later questioned Daredevil's tactics. What do you do? What do? You act like it's a playground. You beat up the bullies with your fist. You throw them in jail and everybody calls you a hero. And then a month, a week, a day later, they're back on the streets doing the same goddamn thing. And we've seen this sort of mentality in a lot of the anti-hero like type videos, like one of my favorites, the Boondock Saints. Same thing. You see the bad guys supposedly going to be punished, and yet somehow they weasel out of the system. Whether that's corruption inside of the system and stuff, and how do you permanently teach someone a lesson? Sometimes, it's taken their life because they're a threat to society. I think that this is the world. It needs men that are willing to make the hard calls, he added. I think you and me are the same, only I do the one thing you can't. You hit them and they get back up. I hit them and they stay down. It's permanent. I make sure that they don't make it out on the street again. I take pride in that. These are not the words of a psychopath. In fact, it's the opposite. He cares deeply for the people that these criminals have harmed and plan to harm and want to put a stop to it. Well, this depends on the version of the Frank Castle, to be honest, because there's many different versions of Frank Castle out there. And you can really see that with like the different movies out there, like the one with Dolph Lundgren's good, Thomas Jane, and I always forget the other guy, but the Punisher Warzone. Dolph's one's interesting because he's done it for so long that now it's just sheer willpower and instinct. That's who he is. He is the Punisher sort of thing. So I'm kind of interested in how they're going to do that he's not a psycho, or how they're going to portray him in this. I liked John Bernal's version. I think it's cool. But to say that he's a psycho, a murderous psycho, is downplaying Frank, and it's a little sus about that. But there's some Punisher news for you. Let me see if I can find real quick the new look. The Punisher new look. I will say that the hair looks terrible. I will say that. The Punisher brand new day. All right, well, that's failing me right now. So let's go to X. Let's see. The Punisher. Here we go. From the Punisher HQ. There you go. Not a big fan of this hairstyle. It's too New Jersey-ish. So I feel like they need to tone it down a little bit more. The beard, that's fine, but that hairstyle is a little puffy there, if you will. And I don't know, like, I'm sure he's in great shape. He looks a little chunky. Something about this, I don't know. I just, not a, it looks very plain, I guess you could say, in terms of that. And you could make the argument that, like, you know, the trench coat and like what he wore before and all that stuff is very plain. But I don't know, something about this. I think it's, if this is supposed to be body armor, I feel like they could have done a way better job. Like, it's great to see the skull, because, you know, Marvel's been hating on the skull lately. It's great to see that. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they could have done something maybe a little bit better. But there's the new look for you if you enjoyed it. Let's see. So, back to Tech for Gamers here, because they had an article. That is not the one that I wanted to show, but this one. So, Bioshock 1 Remake canceled by 2K earlier this year amid ongoing franchise turmoil. I don't know why I was just like, all of a sudden just like, staring there. A rather old article, and I'm not sure, I don't think we talked about this. I saw it on X, but I didn't like pick it up or like talked about it in past shows, so I want to kind of bring that back up. So these are challenging times for the Bioshock franchise, especially after recent reports have revealed that the fourth entry has been facing a troublesome development despite more than a decade of work. I got an article about that one from Fandom Pulse that we'll take a look at as well. So there may be some more unfortunate news from fans of the franchise. The long-rumored Bioshock 1 remake has now been confirmed to be real, but was unfortunately shelved by 2K Games earlier this year, quite possibly due to the production struggles revolving around the fourth entry. I'm kind of indifferent about this. That kind of sucks. But then again, we all have seen on how remakes are going about these days. Would it stay true to the OG? I don't know. Did even the remastered version stay true to the OG? That's the one I played. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but this is something to where when you see the words remake being attached to something, is it a modern remake? So this could be a blessing in disguise, but it does suck in terms of Bioshock 4 struggling. Fans have been demanding a Bioshock 1 remake for years now. Such a remake would be a perfect way to introduce the franchise for newer fans, while 2K Games works on the next iteration, which is still years away. So according to Bloomberg, their sources confirms that Bioshock 4 was canceled earlier this year. Rumors of the remake date all the way back to 2021, when a Bioshock RTX remaster was mentioned in an NVIDIA GeForce leak. Previously, reports have also suggested that 2K Games was preparing to announce the remake this year. As such, it is speculated that the title was deep into development, quite possibly even nearing a release. Cancellation in this slate only implies that 2K Games meant to cut down budget costs, especially after the poor state Bioshock 4 is in. Still, it's a shame that the project had to be shelved given how much fans anticipated it. And there you go. So I guess it has been shelved. Kind of sucks, but then again, very possible that we dodged a bullet of the game not being respected and instead being bastardized. So I think you can kind of take that as you will, sort of thing. And then comboing that to Wandom Fire is what I was going to say. Fandom Wire is Bioshock 4 stuck in development in hell? And here's what we know so far. So sounds like Fandom Wire is going to give us a quick summary of everything that we need to know. So the upcoming much anticipated Bioshock 4 is still a long way from being released to retail shelves, and recent developments seem to suggest troubled time for the title. While one would think that the game is knee-deep in development hell right now, it does not appear to be the case at all. After all, the studio behind the game seems to be quite active still. And I would like to point out that this was published today, 3:38 p.m., August 5th. Join in as we take a dive deep into the current state of the game and examine everything we know about it thus far. Let me know Also, while we're at it, make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you're enjoying what you're seeing here in the news. Let me know what you guys think so far about the articles that we've read. Bioshock 1 being canceled, your thoughts on that survey for Nintendo about the stupid game key garbage. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Make sure to leave a like, by the way. And if you don't like what I'm doing, leave a dislike. That's fine too. I don't give a fuck. I'm Gazorp fucking field, bitch. Now give me my enchiladas. All right, so here we go. So for starters, Bioshock 4 isn't being developed with series creator Ken Levin at its helm. Instead, we have Cloud Chamber, an entirely new studio at 2K, to whom the task has been given. Now, if he's not at the helm, that's not looking good already. But in any case, 2K Games has reassured gamers that the new studio will be able to stay, quote, true to the vision of the original, but we will have to wait and see if that's the case. Oh, that's not good. All right, I'm already little sus. I'm a little sus. Also a little gassy. There's a rather painful low amount of information about the game at present, and we don't have access to concepts or even in-game footage just yet. I remember on a show a while back, supposedly a leak from Bioshock from a game, but it wasn't confirmed. And I don't remember what show that was, but I remember it was like the weaponing selection menu and stuff looked very Bioshockish. So what we do know is that the game was first announced to be in the works sometime in 2019. Dang. It has now been nearly 6 years since we've had any update of the sort. That is until very recently, when a recent report from Bloomberg shed some light on the studio's troubled development. As per the report, the new Bioshock game reportedly failed a review for 2K Games, which sounds just as bad as you think it would. To counter this, DK Games has seemingly suggested a complete overhaul, especially with regard to the game's narrative. Given how important the story element is to Bioshock game, this bit should stand as quite concerning. Starting a fresh narrative from scratch is no easy task, and it's clear that the Cloud Chamber has a lot of work to do. Additionally, 2K Games have reportedly removed the studio head Kelly Gilmore, along with moving creator-director Hogarth de la Planta to a publishing role. Taking all this into account, it's no wonder that fans are quite rightfully worried about the future of Bioshock. Well, yeah, this isn't sounding good at all. Who's Kelly Gilmore, by the way? I'm going to do a quick look here. Kaboom. Kelly Gilmore. Video game. Video game producer, studio head. So Sid Meier. Okay, so she's worked on Sid Meier Civilization and XCOM. I mean, all I'm seeing right now is gaming credits. Here we go. Sid Meier's Ace Patrol, XCOM, Enemy Unknown, Civilization 4, or 5, Sid Meier Civilization 4, Colonization, Civilization Revolution. So she's literally been on a shit ton of Civilization stuff and then did some XCOM. So I don't understand. Like, why was it? I don't get this. Civilization and Bioshock are two totally different, like, type of gaming genres. So why are they thinking she'll be good for the job? I don't know. Sounds well, I mean, we don't need to worry about it anymore because she's been removed. However, it should be noted that the restructuring and reworking of video games are quite common, especially in modern, big-budget AAA titles. They said modern. As such, there's perhaps not much reason for concern. After all, the studio is still actively hiring talent and is still in business. So it's safe to say that Bioshock 4 will not be released anytime soon. Damn you, Nat. I just saw you. I would like to provide an estimate, but the truth is there isn't a whole lot to base this on, especially since we know very little about the game or its development cycle. So combining that with the rather troubling report from Bloomberg, it does paint a rather grim picture. Honestly speaking, a delay or two is par of the course, kind of expected at this point, but complete radio silence since the initial news in 2019 is a pill to swallow. Meanwhile, Ken Levine seems to be doing quite well on his own, being knee-deep into the development of Judas, yet another first-person shooter with science fiction elements strewn within it. Judas! Oh yeah, look at that. That is 100% like Bioshock influenced. Huh. Okay. Looks like a lot like Bioshock. Not just a lot. Probably has a lot of features. All right. Well, there is that for you. So it doesn't sound too good, but at this point, we just got to wait and see what is up. Be closing my stuff here. All right. And right now we are on the big topic here. This is from Niche Gamer. So we covered a show about the payment processor situation, back and forths. Last time we talked about each.io saying that MasterCard told them to take off stuff, Steam delisting a bunch of stuff, and a lot of pushback. Well, apparently MasterCard made a statement and denies censorship allegation, but says it is actually Valve that are to blame for this whole insanity. Now, to me at this point, it's very possible that both people are assholes. That could be very possible. And if so, then both people need to be, and by people, I mean like MasterCard and Valve, they need to be mocked and made fun of, scrutinized, and get a good knee tapping. So following shocking new censorship at the behest of payment processors, MasterCard has denied allegations they were one of the parties behind the new censorship. So in a new statement, the major pay processor clarified they were only acting in accordance with local law and not of their own accord. This excuse would align with the government bodies pushing towards digital ID all over the globe at the same time. However, the timeline does not line up. It seems MasterCard jumped the gun, though, as a prompt response from the biggest gaming distributor on the planet, Steam, has confirmed they were instructed to remove games on the behest of the pay processors. So they are a bunch of lying douchebags. And we can click the new statement here. I'll bring it up right here. Here you go. Clarifying recent headlines on gaming content. MasterCard has not evaluated any game or required restrictions of any activity on game creator sites and platforms, contrary to media reports and allegations. This is a very bold statement because there's been tons of people saying, yes, we got told by them to do it. So it's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it works out. Our payment network follows standards based on the rule of law. Put simply, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure MasterCard cards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. And as you can see right here, they got community noted to hell. Both Steam and Itch have stated their removal of adult content came from pressure by payment processors, including MasterCard, and there's the Guardian article right here. And then furthermore, MasterCard and other payment processors have a documented history of refusing service to Japanese retailers over illegal adult content. And we have an article, Otaku's USA Magazine. So this is a lying sack of crap. Jumping back over here. So in a new statement, we just read that. A Valve representative confirmed MasterCard tried shifting the blame on other payment processors for ironically adhering to MasterCard's own rule book. Prior to game's removal, Valve attempted to communicate with MasterCard directly in order to reach an understanding, but could not establish a direct line of communications with MasterCard. And this is the thing. This is the tactic we see them do all the time, is that you will be given the loop around so much that that they want you to just give up and not pursue whatever it is you're doing. So if we click on the confirmation of Valve, this takes us to PC Master. Defects blame. Valve says payment processors specifically cited a MasterCard rule about damaging the brand. Let's see. Let's see if we can find it. So in a statement provided to PC Gamer, Valve said that it had tried to work things out with MasterCard directly prior to removing the games and suggested that MasterCard did have at least an indirect influence on the outcome. MasterCard did not communicate with Valve directly despite our request to do so, a Valve representative said. MasterCard communicated with payment processors and their acquiring banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve, and we replied by outlining Steam's policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. Payment processors rejected this and specifically cited MasterCard's Rule 5.12.7 and risk to the MasterCard brand. This is what it states. A merchant must not submit to its acquirer, and a consumer or a customer must not submit to the interchange system any transactions that is illegal or in sole discretion of the corporation, may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negatively on the marks. That is such bullshit. That includes, according to the rules, any product or service that is, quote, is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic values, such as, by way of example, not limitations, image of non-consensual sexual behavior, sexual exploitation of a minor, non-consensual mutilation of a person or body part, and bestiality, or any other material that the corporation deems unacceptable to sell in connection with a mark. Acquirers, the financial situations that provides the cards and lines of credit, who fail to take action in response to complaints are subject to significant penalties, monetary and other values. So there you go. Regardless of the role right there. Its clarification sure makes it seem like the pressure is being felt. All right, so that's what they said. So back to MasterCard here. So yeah, we just read that. The value rep added payment processors rejected this and cited the rule that we just read. That rule from MasterCard states what we just read. Things that are deemed potentially damaging to MasterCard include any product or service that are, quote, patently offensive and lack serious. Okay, we've read all that. So it would seem MasterCard is putting pressure on acquirers, financial institutions that process credit or debit card payments on behalf of the merchant by threatening them with disciplinary action in bad faith, considering adult video games do not neatly fall into the second paragraph of the violation definition of Rule 5.12.7. So there you go. So clearly lying about everything and trying to shift the blame. And then if we hop on over to that Park Place, they have an article talking about how video games censorships are being targeted, or video games are being targeted, and censorship crackdown could extend to games like GTA, Saints Row, and more. And this all ties into the stupid Online Safety Act, which I thought I read seeing that Trump did, like, they're looking into it about this stuff and, like, very aggressively warned the UK to, like, hey, we're going to be talking about this and stuff like that. That's very loosely. I'm sure you could read a more clear article about it, but Trump's aware of this stuff that's, like, kind of slowly reaching across the world and into the US. So could the ongoing video game censorship crackdown extend to action-oriented games like GTA or Saints Row? In a rapidly escalating controversy shaking the digital gaming landscape, payment processors, Visa, MasterCard, PayPal, and Stripe, and the like, are exerting immense pressure on major platforms to delist adult-oriented games. What began as targeted removals of explicit titles on storefronts like Steam and itch.io, has now spilled over to smaller retro-focused sites such as Zoom platform. Alarmingly, this purge is raising fears that even mainstream action games, long criticized for violent sexual themes and mature content, could be next on the chopping block. Let's see. So Grand Theft Auto, Duke Nukem, Saints Row have been explicitly flagged as, quote, at risk during discussions between platforms and processors. This development signals a potential slippery slope towards wider censorship or artistic freedom in games hanging in the balance. And kind of what I hinted earlier at the start of the show is that these processors don't realize that by doing this, you are pushing heavily for people to go sail the seven seas and pirate shit, which defeats your whole purpose of, like, we don't want these games being shown to kids or whatever, but you can still buy all these other games, to where people are going to go, well, if you're coming for these, at some point you're going to dislike some other game, so you're going to come for those too, so we might as well just pirate everything. So to me, I just chuckle, because this is like the biggest push for people to do piracy ever, and it's done by these corporations that think, we're going to take the high road and we're going to show how we have morals, even though at the end of the day they're all greedy. So it's like, dude, you literally can still make money on these adult oriented games, so why, instead of censoring it, you just let it happen? As long as it's not breaking the law, you get money from everything. But no, it's like, well, we don't want money anymore from these games because we deem them, XYZ. It's foolish. It's disgusting. So as of August 2025, the campaign, spearheaded by the Australian advocacy group Collective Shout, has gained traction, forcing platforms to navigate a minefield of compliance demands while trying to pressure user access to diverse content. With over 17,000 games reportedly affected on itch.io alone, the industry is grappling with what may see as an overreach that could redefine what's acceptable in video games. So the push to this traces back to Collective Shout, a charity organization founded in 2010 that campaigns against the objectification of women and children in media. And it's always the same thing. We're doing this for women and children, and then at the end of the day, it's just for control. And a lot of the time, the people calling for this garbage are actually the disgusting people that they claim are the people that like these sort of games. So in recent months, they've escalated its efforts, that would be Collective Shout, by directly lobbying payment processors rather than the platforms themselves. Yeah, such a beta bitch move. According to a statement from the group, they approached these financial gatekeepers after months of ignored complaints to Steam. And I believe we've read this before. We've approached payment processors because Steam did not respond. Explained in a public post, claiming responsibility for the subsequent delisting on both Steam, and itch.io. So they're 100% admitting, yeah, it was us. So the group's tactics have drawn criticism for being overly broad and ideological driven. Well, it's 100% ideological driven. Critics argue that while protecting vulnerable groups is important, blanket bans risk stifling creative expressions. This is the thing, though. These vulnerable groups, they cannot define. They always say it's for women. They always say it's for this. It's always for this. But at the end of the day, it's not. It's for them. It's for them to stay in power and to utilize these supposed vulnerable groups and use them as a stepping stone. No better example than whenever there's a terrible school shooting, these people immediately stand on the graves of the kids and say, if you cared about kids, you would ban all guns. To which, I would respond, well, it's clear that you don't actually care about kids because you're standing on they're not even cold dead corpses yet, Now tell me which one's the more disgusting one. I think it's the people using kids as a stepping stone. Because none of this, specifically talking about school shootings here, since I brought up the example, we didn't see this back in the day. My dad tells me he remembers a time where people had rifles in their pickup trucks all the time, and none of this insanity ever happened. But coming back to here. So collective shouts involvement has been likened to historical moral panics over video games, echoing databases from the 1990s about Mortal Kombat and Doom. Yep. Steam, Valve's dominant PC gaming storefront, was among the first to feel the heat. Ports emerged in July of 2025. Hey, Nate here says, "What's up, Greg? What up, dude? How's it going?" We are talking about we're taking a look at any updates on the whole payment processing thing and the insanity and the censorship. So in July of 2025, reports emerged of games being quietly delisted or de-indexed, meaning they're hidden for search results and harder to find. Which, again, this is literally just pushing people to go pirate stuff, which is another thing that these payment processors are pissed off about. These people get mad that their products get, pirated. The video games company. It's insane. And I think when it does happens, everyone just needs to tell. It's like, look, when when Nintendo gets upset about, we're worried about piracy and stuff. It's like, hey, you blame your stupid payment processors. You guys pushed it to this. You guys pushed it to where the only way you can get a game before all this insanity happens is to go sail the 7 seas and all that crap. Like, it's like, you got to do it. And so many people have told you guys, like, look, all we want is preservation. Like, people will still pay money to play those old school games. Like, just preserve it. Don't touch it. No. Like, they're reaping what they're sowing here. So as we read, each IO, they removed or de-indexed a bunch of stuff. Smaller platforms aren't immune. Zoom platform, a DRM-free storage specializing in retro and cult classic games. Zoom platform, I'll have to check that out. Recently disclosed similar pressures from an unnamed fellow member of the industry via the payment processors. Fuck them. Don't cave. People will support you. Zoom platform. I'm on here right now. PayPal, Stripe, Visa, AM Express. American Express hasn't said anything. They accept American Express. Yeah, and this is what and again, this is something that happens. Komanga says over on YouTube, says the 7 C's. Yes, I'm late. You're all good. But yeah, this is absolutely insane. Let's see. Hey, politicians and corporations are the biggest hypocrites around. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely 100%. And then he also says, part of me wishes I didn't buy a Switch 2. Nobody bitches more about piracy than Nintendo. That's the one thing to where I didn't bash anyone buying a Switch 2. I didn't bash anyone. Go ahead and do what you want. Go ahead and buy what you want to buy. That's fine. But I will say that for those of you that did, whoever, and if down the road, Nintendo with their hiking the prices on new consoles, hiking the prices on old consoles, things going more digital with their whole stuff, it was like you were warned about it and you didn't, and you went ahead and did it anyway. I'm not going to be a dick about it to anybody, but I would be like, you contributed to it. What's done is done, but we warned you. You said you did it anyway. You're a little bit to blame there, but again, at the end, I don't care because I'm sure I've bought stuff that supported some cause or something. For me, that's also where like the whole idea of boycotting stuff at some point just becomes insane. Because at some point everything's connected, and it's like, if you buy it and you trace down the line of a bunch of stuff, and you know, a company way back in the day that you bought, and you found out that a company nowadays bought it, and that company's getting boycotted or something, and you have a product that they absorbed a long time ago or something. It's like, you're a hypocrite technically. It's like, whatever. Anywho, so in a statement, Zoom affirmed its commitment to artistic freedom. We have no plans to remove any titles, and we will do absolutely everything in our power to prevent such delists, they said. Oh, good. It makes me want to support you, Zoom platform. And I just looked up over here on their site. And it looks like some solid games here. So the platform, founded by industry veteran Bernie Stolar, known for launching the PlayStation Dreamcast North America. Nice. Host a selected library, including edutainment, oddities, and yes, adult-oriented games. It's notably the only legal digital source for original Duke Nukem side-scrollers. Dang. So during negotiation with PayPal and Stripe, representatives revealed that games like Grand Theft Auto, Duke Nukem, and Saints Row were cited as potential problematic. Oh, geez. These titles, while not explicitly adult-oriented, feature satirical brutality, innuendo, and mature humor that have drawn ire from advocate groups for decades. Fuck those guys. This says it right here. Satirical. It's not real. These people cannot differentiate. And this is whether it's on the left or the right side, because the right side was a big proponent of trying to push the debunked idea that video games cause violence. That's the same crap they try to pull about, you know, your old school Westerns back in the day, causing kids to do it. Three Stooges even. Mo Howard on the Michael Douglas show straight up tells them, because he was asked, now, do people get hurt from doing your stuff? And he says, during the live shows, I would always tell the kids, do not try this at home. The boys will attest that on occasion, sometimes I will miss. That would be like the slaps and the eye pokes and all that stuff. And he even brings up a child psychiatrist and asked her, like, on your studies, what do you find out? And she's like, and he says, she's like, look, you know, yeah, I could be a little biased because I'm a fan of the Stooges myself, but there's no correlation, because it's no different than, you know, someone watching the Three Stooges and doing the slapstick and the inhuman, you know, like saw on the head and stuff, compared to someone watching a Western and going out and getting a gun. There's no correlation. And both the left and the right try to make it, and it's retarded. So the concern that action games might be the next to be censored appears well founded amid this controversy. Developers of the viral co-op game Chained Together, formerly known as Peak, echoed the sentiment. It'd be foolish to assume that any game is safe, they said. The fear is that once explicit adult games are purged, the net will widen to include any title with edgy content. Exactly what I just said. Violence, satire, or even mild innuendo. This isn't without precedent. Collective shouts past success, like pulling GTA 5 from shelves, demonstrating their persistence. Industry watchers warn of a slippery slope where payment processors become the de facto censor, bypassing platform policies. And then it goes on to talk about UK Interactive Entertainment have addressed the issue, calling for clear guidance. Oh, no, organizations. Clear guidance on video game censorship to protect legal content. Meanwhile, some platforms like GOG have pushed back. I rock GOG. By offering mature games for free temporary, emphasizing that if a game is legal and responsibly made, players should be able to enjoy it. That's it, right there. Boom. Does it pass the laws that are currently established? Yes. Go fuck yourself, payment processors. Polar Plays 1995 rated me over on Twitch. Thank you for the raid, man. Now over on Rumble, a payment processor. Yep. It's a bullshit. Conclusion, a crossroads for gaming freedom. As the dust settles on this latest video game censorship wave, the industry stands at a crossroads. Platforms like Zoo are innovative to protect their catalog, but the threat to beloved action franchises loom large. If the aforementioned Grand Theft Auto and all that stuff falls victim, it could signal the end of an era for unfiltered gaming experiences, and it will 100% increase piracy. I'm telling you right now, if that happens, piracy is going to skyrocket. And at this point, good. The companies should get hurt. The payment processors should get hurt because they all brought this on themselves. All you had to do was make a good game. The people who don't want to play those games don't have to play it. If it passes the law, people will buy it and enjoy it. And parents need to watch their kids more and know who your family friends are of what games they're playing. Because yes, that's going to be the thing. You can tell your kid you're not allowed to play this game. Go over to a friend's house whose parent says, yeah, you're fine. Go play it. We don't care. That's the parents. The parents then need to discuss stuff or explain to their kids. Oh my goodness gracious. I hate this. Ultimately, the battle pits artistic liberty against moral advocacy with payment processors holding the reins. For now, developers and players alike are watching close, hoping that reasons and not restrictions prevail. And this is where someone like tagged Elon and brought this up, the payment processor stuff, and mentioned the idea, hey, do you need to start, hey, Elon, you might need to start a payment processing, XYZ or something. And it's like, yeah, I may have to. And that's unfortunately something that should have happened earlier because MasterCard and Visa are 90% credit card transactions are from them. So they do have a monopoly on the situation. And that's unfortunate. But there's still a chance that we can still, payment processors, new ones can be brought up, can be created and all that stuff. My thing, though, is Elon's kind of gone a little crazy, but then again, I like Elon in certain stuff, but other stuff, I'm like, oh my gosh, like enough already sort of thing. So that's another thing in and of itself, because it's like, who's capable of doing something like that? Well, Elon, yeah, is the one that can do it. But like, we need more people, Hey, Nine here says Jack Thompson tried to cancel violent video games in the 2000s. We all know how that worked out. Yeah, exactly. And someone who's a Christian themselves, who reads the scripture, tries to apply and believes it's the truth and whatnot, and studies that sort of stuff, like, the satanic panic pissed me off too, because a lot of those people didn't understand what they were saying. They were just regurgitating stuff, and they were letting fear control them. Because that was kind of like with the Harry Potter situation that came back out in 1999. And my family was conservative and Christian stuff. My mom and I bonded over Harry Potter because we understood at the end good is going to defeat evil, and we didn't let that bother us. It meant nothing. It's one thing to understand what it's talking about and being aware of it. And then, of course, there's the other thing of trying to trick people into doing occultic stuff like that, because scripture does say to avoid it and stuff like that. Obviously, you don't want to dabble with it. And, of course, it'd be foolish to say that stuff has never happened, because it clearly has happened in different cultures. That stuff is strong out there. But that's just not being informed enough and doing your own research, because that thus is with knowledge. Knowledge can be used for good. It can be used for bad. And then we kind of read another article, like we said before. Steam owner Valve pushes back against MasterCard on ongoing dispute over gaming censorship. I believe we read an article that's probably going to say the same thing. In recent escalations of adult-themed games obviously being deplatformed, Valve Corporation, the operator of the popular Steam storefront, has directly challenged MasterCard in its denial of involvement in pressuring platforms to censor or remove mature content. Okay, we've already read about how it came about. Okay, so they're kind of going, again, the history of stuff. So we're going to go ahead and skip that. So on August 1st, they released the statement that we read. Completely, like shifting the buck, passing the buck, shifting the blame. They got community noted. Valve quickly refuted the MasterCard claim, provided a statement to Kotaku. Oh my gosh. On the same day, Valve spokesperson said, MasterCard did not communicate with Valve directly despite our request to do so. Okay, so we kind of already read this based on the other one. Okay, so that statement that we read on that PC, that link that we brought up from the Niche Gamer stuff that led us to PC Gamer, this was the statement that they made to Kotaku. So that's where we got that statement. So we probably went ahead. Yeah, we already kind of talked about this already. We'll see if this has any. The patently offensive clause is subjective and has been criticized for potentially enabling broad censorship, as it doesn't require meeting strict legal tests for obscenities like the U.S. Miller test, which evaluates whether material appears to prurient interest, depicts conduct offensively, and lacks serious value. They're talking about Rule 5.12.7 that MasterCard pointed to. Developers of affected games, often small indie teams, created niche adult-oriented titles, have reportedly significantly financial losses, expressed frustration over the vague guidelines that force self-censorship. Yep. Legal experts note that while patently offensive content may not be protected if obscene, much of the delisted material likely passes constitutional muster in the US where Steam is based. That's another argument. As platforms like itch.io explore alternative processors and games continue their advocacy, outcome could reshape how mature content is handled in digital spaces. Okay, so yeah, nothing new here, but just wanted to showcase that Park Place also has an article talking about it. But yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. It infuriates me. Both sides too. Both sides catering to the left doing this, and then of course some people on the right cheering that, you know, games, that pornography has been banned and all that stuff. It's like, look, at the end of the day, I know for me, I wouldn't weep if all porn got banned or whatever, based on my values and my morals and stuff like that. But I'm also someone to where it's like, dude, I got to get my own life figured out and shit. You know, if I can control myself and not let that stuff bother me, then it's based on the person. If you personally don't like it, then just don't partake into it. You know? The good Lord will come back eventually. He will make things right, for heaven's sakes. There's a reason why he told the disciples that if a town didn't receive their preaching and their Holy Spirit, to dust the sand off. Shake the sands off your feet, move on to the next town. Don't obsess over it. Oh, my goodness. With Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo all being guilty of shitty business practices, it's going to be interesting to see how Steam's future unfolds. Steam CEO has expressed interest in selling Steam, says Nate here. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. Komanga says it's as simple as that. It is. Now, if you want to go down that rabbit hole about the whole morality of everything, then this is why I personally don't make the extreme statements and stuff, because at the end of the day, I'll end up being a hypocrite. And this is where, specifically in the Christian community, I've noticed a lot of people taking this extreme radicalized preaching method sort of thing. And it's like, well, you're not Jonah, for example. Jonah's probably the most extreme prophet out there because he went to Nineveh, and you have to understand what Nineveh it was at that time. It was a horrible place, like disgusting place, like the worst stuff you can think of they were probably doing. And all he said was, God's going to destroy you in 40 days. That's it. Now, any other prophet would talk about how you could do, you know, ask God for forgiveness and stuff. Jonah was unique. He said, 40 days, you're done. Boom. That was it. He was done. And the fact that that was enough for the entire city to repent is actually quite the miracle. That was the miracle. The whole city repented, and out of all the people, I believe it was Babylonians who controlled that, Nineveh being one of them. Nineveh was spared a lot of destructions for a certain time until those people passed away. Then they ultimately got judged. Komanga says, "It's Steam sells to Microsoft, it's Jover." Hey, Nate here says, "The sooner we all realize we're all hypocrites, the better the world will be." Stuttering Craig. No, that's exactly what it is. At some point, you will all be hypocrites. This includes even Christians. That's why Jesus warned you to remove the log from your eye if you're going to comment about the speck on the other. That whole point is to showcase that if you're going to make that judgment, be prepared to be judged back. And if people dig really hard, they're going to find that you're a hypocrite instead. And I don't know if that stemmed from a fear of, like in Revelation, like Jesus doesn't accept lukewarm, he'll spit you out, which is true. But that's in that area of that time, they would have aqueducts that would bring water to them. And by the time the water reached the city, it was lukewarm. So that's the analogy that's being used there to describe about being a lukewarm Christian. That doesn't mean that if you see Christianity as being hot and therefore anything that's cold is bad. Ecclesiastes, Solomon talks about how it can be both extremes, and that's what it is. When you're thirsty, do you drink a big boiling cup of hot water? No, you drink cold water. It's not binary. You can be both at the same time. And by making it binary, you downplay Jesus is coming back and getting new bodies and the resurrection and stuff like that, because we will then have the bodies to be like that. The only person who could do that was Christ, because he was literally the Word made flesh. We are to be like Christ, but we cannot be that 100% perfect radicalization. A lot of people seem to forget about that, or just seem to ignore all the other stuff. That comes from my understanding too, by the way, and my studying. I encourage people to Acts 17:11, even what I'm saying. Acts 17:11 pretty much talks about, like, do your research, study the scripture, and all that stuff. But enough about that. Let's get on to some good stuff. We're over an hour, but that's all right. Let's check out some cool stuff here that I found. Over here on Fandom Pulse. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and a Godzilla crossover is apparently announced. That's pretty cool. IDW Publishing announced it is creating a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle and Godzilla crossover. Series will reveal that the original purpose of the Foot Clan was to protect Japan from a kaiju attacks. So while the kaiju attack disappeared for a period of time, the creatures have begun attacking again. The Foot Clan are not only not prepared to fulfill their original purpose, it's possible that under the leadership of Shredder, they may actually be behind the attacks. Tim Seeley, who is writing the ongoing Godzilla series, pens this crossover with Firo Pei on art duties. So there you go. Series editor Jake Williams told Forbes, there are maybe 2 or 3 other ideas in the entire cultural landscape that are an instantly iconic, as perfect in their clarity and concept as the King of the Monsters and the Heroes in the Half Shell. Mashing them up has been a complete and utter joy. These characters are so perfectly realized that working on this comic feels like bearing witness. I got The Last Ronin too. I need to read that one. Off track here. Oh, nice. And Nate even brought up, oddly enough, I just started reading The Last Ronin. It's good as hell so thus far. That was totally me being spontaneous, by the way, in terms of that. Ooh, guys, I have 10 Rumble people online. Dude, do you want me to do a Norm Macdonald Rumble Studio campaign read? I can do it. Oh, this will be funny. I'm gonna do it, guys. Here you go. Rumble Premium. All right. Hey guys, how's it going? When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. That could be debated now, but they didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversations or censor opinions on COVID. But they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Okay. This should be, oh my gosh, it's like a fucking monologue here. Anyway, Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media. They are attacked by governments like France. They are attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Now, I haven't seen these attacks on X, but, you know, maybe we should take their word for it. Corporate America is fighting to remove speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get much of it. Watch our show on Rumble. Wait, Rumble itself has a show, The Rumble Show? Is the most they can ask from you. Oh, wait. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you, but if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble's offering $10, not $5, not $4, not $3, but $10 off with the promo code STUDIO. That's in all caps. When you purchase an annual subscription, go to this website, rumble.com/premium, and use promo code STUDIO. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble. My goodness gracious. Don't you feel like a real American after hearing about that? Complete. And there we go. Not looking good, Rumble, when you say complete and it says something went wrong and I have to spam it like 3 times to reset it. Dude, was that not the best reading you ever heard in your entire life? Komanga says, Rumble. Rumble indeed. Dude, nailed it. 10 out of 10. And I encourage everybody out there that if you don't want to read the ad, just use that perfect video of me. All right. Yeah, that script, I know they changed the script, but my gosh. Honestly, all of that could have been shortened in like three sentences. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, there you go. That was actually the first ad read for the new criteria for the monetization program, which I honestly think is kind of retarded, by the way. I've been critical about it, but there's your cheese for a while. Anyway, back to Nintendo. Back to Turtles, which I do like all the Turtle games on a Nintendo. There's a tie-in. Guys, hit that like and subscribe button, by the way. What you just heard, whether that was me stuttering, me misthinking my thoughts, me jumbling my thoughts up and whatnot, I provide nothing but perfection on this show. And that's all the more reason why you should like and subscribe, by the way. I am the #1 retro channel in all of existence and reality. And being the super elite ginger host like I am, I give you nothing but pure professionalism on this show. Patty Quinn says, it was the best reading ever. It was. And I'm a ginger, so I make it even better. Because I give out free ginger passes to everyone. Drop that hard R however you want, my friends. I am not responsible of what happens to you. Well, bam. Anywho. So we got that coming out. So that's nice. Hopping over to Video Game Chronicle here. A new Kirby game apparently is out. Kirby and the Forgotten Land Switch 2 trailer showcase, Star Cross World DLC. So it's scheduled August 28th, the Switch 2 version of the game. Oh, wait. An overview. Has Kirby and the Forgotten... Is that already out? Or is it just the Switch 2 edition plus Star Cross World? I don't know. But if you want a new story, Star Cross World. Okay, it is a new story. Fun fact, Power Cat Greg is the only ginger with a soul. This is 100% true. Now, it does take me it is difficult because the amount of time it takes to absorb a soul from someone can be time consuming and drainful. But yes, right now I currently have one. And I highly encourage that if anyone wants to give me their soul, by all means, feel free to. Because at the end of the day, I'll come for you. And I'm not talking about, sexually. I did that 5 minutes ago while I was reading that Rumble ad and how awesome Rumble Premium is. Oh, my goodness. You guys like me over on Rumble, right? I can't see how Rumble cannot use all of, my examples. It's not demeaning in the slightest. But yeah, if new Kirby and the Forgotten Land trailer, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. I liked some of the Kirby games. I might continue. I need to look into continuing that series too. But then again, I need to continue the Legend of Zelda series too. I'm the Cody Rhodes, and you won't take my soul, says Patty Quinn. Oh man. Funny enough, I was actually watching the very first match between Kane and The Undertaker before I started the show. Those were the days, man. All right, I already read that one. And I guess both the people who made Baldur's Gate 3, they're waiting for the next crazy thing. So, Laren CEO Sven Vike says he's desperate to share details about the studio's next game, but has asked fans to be patient for its arrival. Crazy to think it's only been 2 years, he wrote. That would be about Baldur's Gate and moving on from it in Dungeons and Dragons. It's truly been life-changing, probably worth writing about one day, but I can spoil the biggest takeaway. Baldur's Gate 3 was what allowed us to do our next crazy thing. How that will pan out is anyone's guess, but I can assure you we're working harder to ensure you'll have plenty of fun. Excuse me, Patty Quinn. Excuse yourself. Really, loads of it. In an inspiring way. I cannot wait to show you, but you'll need to be patient. We'll need a bit of time to make it all work. It'll be worth it, though. Following a lengthy early access period, Baldur's Gate 3 was whatever. It's one of the... Okay. So I'm so insanely excited for what's next. He wrote on X, too busy to dwell on the past. You'll forgive me later. There you go. The shit ain't cooking in the air fryer, bro. Sorry, got nothing for you right now. Oh, I guess he was estimating how long they would have to wait, 2026 or 2027. There you go. Sorry, not sorry, says Patty Quinn. NWO was Prime Wrestling. Oh, NWO was the greatest thing ever. I was fortunate enough that I liked wrestling starting in the 90s. Right at the end of Surfer Sting into the NWO, into the Invasion, and then the Attitude Era. The best time of wrestling, and probably will be. I think wrestling will never be the same again. All right, so that's all I had for you guys today. Let's go ahead and close out the stream here by taking a look at what games were released today, and we'll even do that tomorrow here. Dude, look at this. Rocket Knight Adventure. That is an amazing game. Along with, I heard Sparkster, and then Rocket Knight Adventures 2, Sparkster, I believe. Because Genesis had one version. And then there was 2 different Sparkster versions. They're weirdly expensive, by the way. Not weirdly expensive. They're expensive. I need to play that series though. And then they did like a Rocket Knight Adventure, like kind of remake sort of thing, remastering. I need to play that series though. And then they did. Look at that, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Oh, Shenmue. There you go. Silent Hill 3. Dang. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2014 for 3DS. Tales of Phantasia, I hear, is a good series, or a lot of people enjoy that series. This was a solid list. Azure Dreams. I don't know about that one, but maybe someone out there liked it. Yeah. Freaky Flyers. Dude, solid list. Very good list. And then for tomorrow, what do we got? Oh my goodness gracious. Metroid, Famicom Disk System, Secret of Mana. Very good game. I actually like Sword of Mana, by the way. I would recommend people playing that game as well. The Tower of Druaga, apparently. Shenmue was basically GTA 3 before this was GTA 3. Indeed, so I've heard. Bust-a-Move 4, Harvest Moon 2, Game Boy Color, Mobile Suit Gundam Journey to Jaburo, Rockman EX 4.5 Real Operation, Braid. I remember Braid being super talked about when the 360 came out. That was a very popular indie game. I haven't played it yet. I have it, played a little bit, but I haven't beaten it. Madden NFL 11. You got an SD Gundam I see up here. Dragon's Crown I also heard is very good. Tales of Xillia. So a lot of the Tales games I heard are good. And yeah, that one's also a really good list too. So there you guys go. That is all I have for you guys tonight. So thanks for hanging out with me. Tomorrow we'll continue gaming. We'll probably switch back over to do some more Tomb raiding. That game's already making me mad. Gosh, I told myself, and I said in the title, I think my spirit is ready to handle another Tomb Raider game. And right away I was like, oh gosh, maybe it wasn't. But we'll push through. We'll push you. And you know what? If we have to guide it, we'll guide it to get through it. Because I think I did pretty well on the OGs up until Chronicles. I did my due. I'd done my share. And with that being said, we'll do some rating here. I mostly do rating on YouTube and Rumble, just because, honestly, I don't have anybody to rate over on Kick or Twitch. Kind of dead for me, but that's all right. I still stream over there anyway. All right, so rating for YouTube. Vara Dark is online, so we'll raid her. And then, speaking of rating on Rumble, we are using Tomby's rating Rumble Raid extension. So we will do that. And JFG Stevens is online, so we will raid him. So go show him some love. There you go. The deed is done. Confirm that raid. All right. You guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. Sorry, I was listening. It opened up the thing and I heard him saying thanks for the raid. I was like, huh? I thought I muted everything. But there you go. Well, Tomby, raid button worked. All right. You guys have a good rest of your night. Take care. Enjoyed JFG over on Rumble and Vara on YouTube. Take care. God bless. Good night. Peace.